So you are powerful by virtue of your mind. At times you might feel like you're out of your mind. At other times it might feel like your mind is out of control. You may even experience life through a well-practiced mindset of feeling helpless or powerless. Yet regardless of what you've believed, it remains the seat of your power. That's how Linda Martella Whitsett and her daughter Alecia begins chapter 3 of This Life Is Yours, which we're exploring here over the next several weeks. Last week we talked about the power of the mind through being able to direct the law of mind action, or what is more popularly known in recent years as the law of attraction. It's a law because it works consistently, regardless of who's operating it. It works just like any physical law or anything else that works all the time the same way, regardless of whether you know what you're doing or you don't know what you're doing. The law of mind action, as it's known in Unity, says that thoughts held in mind tend to produce after their own kind. So that the life experience becomes a mirror of the consistent, predominant thoughts that we hold. And at first glance, as we explored last week, it can sound like that we become, by the quality of our thoughts, solely responsible for creating every circumstance that we're experiencing in our life. But the truth is far more complex and far more compassionate than that. Thoughts and feelings carry a very, very real energetic vibration. There is substance to our thoughts, even though we may not be able to touch it or see it. We know it's there. And I know most of you have had that experience of walking into a room. Have you ever done this? And you're walking in, there's a group of people there, and if there's a lot of worry, angry, grieving, that has a certain vibrational energy that you feel. You may not be privy to whatever was being spoken about. And it's conversely true. If it's joyful, creative, inspired, you walk in and you can feel that vibrational lift that happens when you walk into the room. You can sense their vibration, and you can be impacted by them because ultimately we are all interconnected, even though it feels like we're pretty separate. Interconnection, this is just one physical manifestation of what it looks like, and this was taken by the Hubble Space Telescope, is an intricate and delicate interaction that is continuously taking place within this non-visible, non-tangible, energetic reality. And we're all integral parts of this. We're part of this greater whole, and we are both influencing this interconnected web and in our unconsciousness being influenced by it. Have you ever noticed how one thought can change your entire mood? You wake up feeling pretty good, had a good night's sleep, life is good, and then a thought appears. For me, oftentimes, I'm doing good until I go to put on my clothes and they're a little tight. And if they're that way, then the whole thought process cascades and the mood of feeling good shifts in that heartbeat. Or how am I going to pay my bills? Or what if this doesn't work out? Or what if I don't get this job that I'm going after? Or what if something's going wrong with the kids? Whatever it might be, one thought can shift our mood. And before long, it's not just the thoughts, but it's the entire experience. It filters the lens in which we now engage with everything. You know, Typically, if we're starting to transgress towards negative thoughts, you can feel it. Your body gets tighter, your energy levels often drop. And those feelings now of not well-being generate more thoughts, and it just becomes a very vicious cycle. And that's because our thoughts and feelings, they're intricately connected too. And when we have those things working in concert with each other, then that is what often drives our actions. Now, this is what I want you to hear. Those thoughts may not be telling the truth, yet they are going to shape your experience. This teaching invites us to understand that thoughts aren't passive. They just aren't something. Now, sometimes they can have that unengaged energy. It's just a floating thought that goes by. But they're always creating. They aren't picky. They will follow instructions of what they should create. They shape how we see ourselves. They shape how we interpret life and what we expect to experience. Every thought is like a lens. And if the lens says I'm not enough, then everything you look at will seem to confirm it. Not because it's true, but because that's the filter in which you are engaging with life. One of the most powerful teachings in chapter 3 is this. It's not that there is something wrong with you. Did you hear that? It's not that there is something wrong with you. It is that you have been thinking in ways that make it feel that way. Can you hear that distinction? Because if the problem was really you, we're kind of stuck. If it's you that is at the center of all this, then there's not much you can do about it. But if the problem is the way you're thinking is a thought pattern, then something can change. It's like wearing a pair of tinted glasses. If the glasses are gray, then the whole world will look much duller than it is. It's not that the world has changed, it's just the lens in which you're looking for it. And the same is true if you put on those rose-colored glasses. In Unity, we're often accused of wearing rose-colored glasses, but it doesn't necessarily change the world, but it changes the way we can see it and we can experience it. As we talked about last week, being able to question the lens from which we are looking at life, from which we are engaging life, is one of the most important spiritual practices that we can do, because it changes what we get information about, and it changes the way we engage with it. The authors remind us that thoughts and feelings, whether they're of lack or of not being enough, they're not the facts of our life. They are the thought patterns that we have practiced, and sometimes for a very long time. But what has been practiced can be unpracticed. That's the good news. And ultimately, even better news is to know that you don't have to fight your thoughts. You don't have to suppress them. You don't have to try and act like they're not there. You simply have to stop giving authority to the thoughts that are not true. You simply have to be awake enough that when that thought comes, you can say, that's not a thought that I'm going to give my energy to. So what is true? What can we understand through our own spiritual instructions, guides, masters over the years? What is true is, number one, you're whole. That's the eternal part of you. You are whole, you are worthy, and ultimately, you're enough, regardless of what your thoughts may be telling you. And it's not because you thought those things into existence. This isn't about I affirmed them enough time and then I became it. It's already true. It is about aligning with that truth. So some of you may be thinking, but I've done things that don't reflect wholeness. Maybe I'm continuing to do things that don't always reflect my wholeness. I've hurt people, perhaps betrayed trust, made serious mistakes. How can I claim that I am whole, or that I'm worthy, or that I'm enough? And the way we can begin is by understanding that your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions, while they're powerful and they may have consequences, they are not your identity. They are not who you are. There is a you behind all of those things that is the thinker. There is a you behind all of those things that has the experience of being able to feel things. There is a you beyond even the things that you might have said and done. You are a divine expression of life, already whole at your core. Our Unity co-founder, Charles Fillmore, taught that human beings have a threefold nature. That we are body, but we are also soul, and we are spirit, which is that integrated part of the whole. Our human conditions, it receives guidance from either our bodies, which are our human conditions, our survival instincts, all of the ways in which we have experienced life. So it either receives information from there or from spirit, which is our individualized God nature, what we often call our Christ nature, our innate divinity. Guidance, when we get it from the body, which is the default, which is the unconscious default of this human experience, is primarily concerned with our safety and our survival. That's all it really cares about. That's its job, is to keep us safe from whatever it might deem to be a threat. So when fear or worry or pain or anxiety shows up because of some experience we're having, this amygdala part of our brain, the oldest part of our brain, becomes activated. And the system is designed to react quickly, to act first and then think later. That's its strategy. So when we react, I guarantee it's coming from that part of our brain, because it says, I gotta neutralize this threat, and I don't even have time to ponder whether it's really a threat or not. If it isn't, then I'd rather err on that side than the one time when I don't react in that way. But when we can get guidance from our divine nature, then we get different information, and it accesses a different part of our brain. But it takes us having some intention or focus or awareness. We have to be actively sort of in that process of wanting to connect and get information from that part of ourselves. And when we do, what it activates is the front part of our brain, that part where wisdom and compassion and creativity and possibilities emerge. So one of the practices that can support us in that is to take a moment to get in the habit, at least as quickly after the event has happened. Sometimes the reaction's just going to happen because that part of our brain takes over, and that's just the way it is. But as soon as we can, to place our attention, to set our intention to want to activate this heart space. And what we're learning scientifically is that when we can activate this space, it automatically activates this front part of our brain. It's been proven. They can see that when we're in that state of inner connection, wanting, seeking to connect with the divine. It wakes up a different part of our brain. And the heart is what I think of as the bridge between the human and the divine, between this physical part of our being and this energetic part of our being. And the place we can bridge those and be in both is through our heart. Activating this part of our brain does make us feel better, but beyond that, it really opens us to expand, to change, to fine-tune the lens that we're looking at, and to see if there might be other possibilities of how this circumstance is showing up, why, and how I can engage with it differently. So we're going to move into a time of meditation. We're going to get to practice it just a little bit here this morning. So if you'd be willing just to kind of set aside anything you might be holding on to and get comfortable, feeling the support of the seat below you. Sometimes it's easier if you can close your eyes and just be able to shut out the outer world for a few moments. And as always, to allow the breath to bring us into this present moment. And as we breathe, we set our intention to activate our heart center. We can put our attention to that part in our body, in the center of our chest. We can place our attention on that energy center, that non-visible but very active part of our energetic being. And the quickest way to activate it is to bring to mind, to remember someone or something that you deeply love and appreciate. Perhaps today it's one of those mother figures that as you think and feel their presence in this moment, that heart center begins to grow and expand and become more and more active in that energy of love. For some, it might be a place in nature that inspires, that engages a sense of awe and wonder at the vastness of this universe that we live in. Just take a moment and remember. And as you remember, allow that love, that gratitude, that kindness and compassion to expand in your heart. And into this space, I invite you to bring to mind a person, a situation, a circumstance that by default generates those thoughts and feelings of anxiety or worry or fear. And just allow it to be present in this heart energy. Imagine that you can now see it in a more expanded, universal perspective, beyond just the human, but through that spiritual lens of interconnectedness, of knowing that we are all part of this same web that God has spun out into this physical experience. And ask this creative part of your mind to help you to see it through that lens of love, through that lens that sees beyond just this physical experience. Perhaps you feel inspired in this heightened state of awareness to simply send them love. To feel a sense of compassion for the difficult places that they are navigating through. To ask for understanding. Let's just sit in the quiet with inner ears, inner eyes, and open hearts guiding us. And as you begin to bring your awareness back to this time and space, know that you can return to this place of knowing, this place where you can find comfort. You can explore other possibilities, be inspired to create a different experience, simply by returning your attention to your heart space and activating it through the energy of love. And we give thanks for all that's been revealed or will be revealed as this day and week unfolds. And whenever you're ready, you can bring your attention back here and open your eyes. So, the topics of last week and this week has raised some questions for me, and maybe it's raised some from you, because I wonder about cause and effect. That's been an integral part of my understanding and my practice, knowing as I sow, so shall I reap, as Jesus taught. The idea of karma, human societies, and how they operate through systems of justice and consequences. We tell our children, we teach them, everything has a consequence. So how do we reconcile this with this idea that we are innately that energy of divine love and worthiness? And as I wrestle with this, and I imagine I will continue to wrestle with it, as you may too over time, what came to mind as I was sitting with this is the story of the prodigal son. And I know many of you are probably familiar with that, but one son works dutifully, trying to earn his inheritance, taking care of the property and the farm, and the other demands his inheritance up front and goes off to experience the world and squanders it recklessly, eventually finds himself destitute and sleeping with the pigs. And then the scripture says the most beautiful thing. It says this: he came to himself. He awakened. And he got the thought. Boy, the servants at my father's house are living better than this. Perhaps I should return home, not expecting restoration, but simply hoping to be accepted as a servant. But what does the father do in this? He runs to meet him. He embraces him. He celebrates his return. The father is not concerned with punishment or consequences. He is simply overjoyed that the son has come home. And so it is with us. God is always ready to receive us with open arms. Yes, there may be human consequences. Some actions, according to the laws of our societies, will have certain consequences with them. And there's certainly soul consequences. If we've done things that we are still living in a state of shame or guilt or fear or separation or unworthiness, I call that hell. And we each get to hang out for different periods of time in our own personally created one. Not by God, but by our own thoughts and our own experience of life. But those states of hell only persist until we awaken to the truth. God has never stopped seeing us as divine. God, some call it grace, is always ready to say, welcome home, regardless of what our human actions or experiences may have been. God's love, some might say, is like a rock, unconditional, steadfast, and unshakable. No mistakes can remove it from us. No fear can ultimately separate us from it. No thought can diminish it. And when we begin to align our thoughts and our feelings with that truth, we begin to experience life differently. Not because God has changed towards us, but because we have awakened. We have come to ourselves to what has always been true. And it begins in our mind and heart. And well, it is our opportunity now to share of our financial good with this community. We just live every day in gratitude for all the good that flows in and the good that we are able to then put out into the community as a result. So we offer today our gifts, our tithes, and our energy of abundance. In just a moment, the ushers are going to invite you to come up row by row, and you can place the gift you're offering today in the larger basket and then receive an affirmation to bless you this week. And, oh, excuse me. Oh, no, okay, sneeze later. And even if this isn't your Sunday to share, you can still come and be in that flow of giving and receiving. You can simply put your hand over the basket, add your energy to it, or you can take a little card that you'll see in the pocket in front of you that says you give electronically. So let us take what we offer today into our hands, into our hearts, and bless it together. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, Father, Mother God.
With granted peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
And so as we go into this day, living from that state of heart, that state of love and compassion and joy and inspiration, and we can do that knowing that we go with our prayer for protection. Let's do it as call and response. The light of God surrounds us.
I am the light of God.
The love of God enfolds us.
I am the love of God.
The power of God protects us.
I am the power of God.
The presence of God watches over us.
I am the presence of God.
Together, wherever we are, God is, and all is well.